The galaxy had always been a place of quiet tension. Star systems glimmered like scattered jewels, each harboring life and secrets that most humans could not yet understand. Earth had watched from its small blue planet, learning about the stars, studying alien transmissions, and quietly preparing for a future it could barely imagine. Now humanity was stepping into a conflict that stretched across light years, a war that other civilizations had been fighting for decades. Yijin stood on the bridge of the flagship Dahan, her eyes fixed on the stars outside the viewport. She had trained her entire life for this moment, yet the weight of responsibility pressed down on her like gravity itself. She was only 28, but her skill in tactical operations had earned her the role of chief officer on this historic mission. Beside her, Taesung adjusted his pilot controls with the easy confidence of someone who had flown in the most dangerous conditions Earth could offer. He smiled at her briefly. "You look tense," he said. "It's just a first contact. We'll handle it." Hyojin did not smile back. "This is not just a first contact. This is a warning. The galaxy is already in flames, and now we are stepping into it. We cannot afford mistakes." Ji-hoon, the ship's lead scientist, leaned over a holographic display. His fingers moved rapidly, analyzing incoming signals. "I've never seen anything like this," he said. "The Varn technology is far beyond anything we have encountered. Their ships can change speed and trajectory almost instantly. Our scanners can barely keep up." Mira, the alien diplomat who had requested Earth's presence, floated into the bridge. Her silver skin shimmered under the lights and her large eyes reflected concern. "They underestimate you," she said softly. "But that is your strength. They do not expect humans to fight with courage and unpredictability. You may survive where others have failed." Hyojin nodded, though she did not relax. The Varn were already moving. Scout ships had been detected near the edge of the Orion Belt, and their numbers were growing. Every alien civilization had struggled against them, some losing entire fleets, others surrendering planets without a fight. Earth scientists had studied the Varn for years, but knowledge alone was not enough to protect them. The first encounter came sooner than anyone expected. Sensors lit up with red warnings and alarms blared across the bridge. "Varn fighters approaching," shouted Taesung. He swung his chair forward, gripping the controls tightly. The small, sleek ships darted through space like angry hornets, their movement too quick to track clearly. Yijin's voice rang out over the bridge. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Ji-hoon, get our weapons ready. Taesung, take the lead and draw them away from the cargo ships. We cannot lose those supplies." Taesung nodded, and the Dahan's smaller fighters launched in tight formation. Hyojin watched the tactical screens, calculating angles and trajectories faster than anyone else on the bridge. The Varn fighters were relentless, attacking in coordinated waves. But humans did not always fight like other species. Where others used brute force, humans relied on unpredictability. Taesung led the Varn into an asteroid field, weaving between rocks with impossible skill, drawing the enemy into traps they could not anticipate. On the bridge, Hyojin directed the Dahan itself. The flagship was not as fast as the Varn vessels, but it was heavily armed and heavily shielded. She ordered the main cannons to fire at the fighters following Taesung. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as the Varn ships faltered and began to retreat. "It's working," Ji-hoon said, his voice filled with relief. "They aren't used to this. Their programming assumes predictability. Humans are unpredictable." But victory was only temporary. Mira's warning echoed in Hyojin's mind. The Varn would not give up easily. As the last of their scout ships retreated, a new massive vessel appeared on sensors. Its size dwarfed the Dahan, and the energy readings made the ship seem almost alive. "They're bringing in a warship," Hyojin said quietly. "We have seconds to react." The bridge crew moved quickly, securing shields, preparing weapons, and readying the smaller fighters. Hyojin's heart raced. She knew the galaxy was watching, even if they did not know it yet. Humanity was proving itself, but the Varn were not yet defeated. This was only the beginning. Taesung launched another sortie, this time with more caution. He darted around the edges of the battlefield, striking at the warship support vessels. Every attack was precise, every movement calculated to confuse the enemy. The Varn warship responded with overwhelming firepower, blasting asteroids and debris toward the human fleet. Hyojin gave orders calmly, despite the danger, directing the Dahan in sharp maneuvers to avoid destruction. Ji-hoon worked furiously to adapt their weapon systems. He had studied Varn energy fields for months, and now applied his knowledge in real time. Using a combination of human ingenuity and borrowed alien concepts, he modified the ship's cannons to pierce the Varn shields. The first shot hit the warship. Sparks and fire streaked across its surface. The humans cheered briefly, but Hyejin silenced the bridge. "Stay focused," she said. "They are testing us. They want to see how far we can go." Mira floated beside her, her voice calm but urgent. "Do not underestimate them. They will adapt. You have one chance to show that humanity is more than just another species. One chance to survive." The battle raged for hours. Humans and aliens moved in a deadly dance. The darkness of space broken by flashes of light and explosions. Taesung's skill kept the smaller fighters alive. Jihoon's quick thinking allowed the Daehan to strike hard, and Hyejin's tactical mind guided them through chaos that would have destroyed any other fleet. Finally, the Varn warship pulled back. Its shields were damaged and several support vessels were lost. The humans had survived the first test. They were bruised and battered, but they were still in the fight. Hyejin allowed herself a moment to breathe. She looked at her crew, tired but alive. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The galaxy is bigger than we imagined, and the war is far from over. But we showed them something today. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not predictable. Humanity can fight." Jihoon nodded, smiling faintly. "They will talk about this in their fleets. They will remember." Taesung's grin returned. "And next time we'll be ready for them." Mira's eyes glimmered with hope. "You have changed the galaxy's perception. The Varn underestimated humans, and that mistake may cost them. But remember, this is just the first step. The galaxy has many more challenges, and not all will be so forgiving." Hyejin turned her gaze to the stars again. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of dangers and wonders. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger world, a world filled with conflict, courage, and opportunity. The stars shone brighter now, as if acknowledging the rise of a species that would not be ignored. The Daehan moved forward, its engines glowing against the blackness of space, carrying the hopes of Earth and the promise of humanity's place in the galaxy. Hyejin, Taesung, Jihoon, and Mira knew the path ahead would be long and dangerous. But for the first time, they were no longer observers. They were participants. They were fighters. And the galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were a force to be reckoned with. The battle near the Orion Belt had left the humans exhausted but alive. The Daehan and its small fleet had survived the first encounter with the Varn, and for the first time, the galaxy began to notice humanity's courage. Hyejin stood on the bridge watching the stars flow past, but she did not allow herself to relax. This was only the beginning. Taesung paced beside the tactical console, his hands still twitching from the adrenaline of the previous fight. "They are fast," he said. "But we are faster when we think ahead. They expected easy prey, but we didn't give them that." Jihoon looked up from his datapad. "Their fighters are adaptive. If we fight them the same way again, they will anticipate our moves. We need to change tactics, and fast." Hyejin nodded. "Then we change everything. Our advantage is creativity, unpredictability. We cannot let their numbers or size intimidate us." The Daehan moved closer to the outer rim of the Varn-controlled sector. Intelligence reports suggested that a small colony, Soryang Station, had been attacked, and survivors were requesting help. The humans could not ignore it. Every life lost to the Varn was a reminder of why Earth had joined the Galactic Council. As the flagship entered the system, sensors detected dozens of Varn ships guarding the station. They were expecting the humans to arrive, but they underestimated human ingenuity once again. Hyejin ordered a stealth approach, guiding the Daehan and its escort ships along a route that avoided the main patrols. Taesung piloted a smaller fighter squad, darting through asteroid clusters to distract the Varn. Explosions erupted as his team drew the enemy away from the main fleet. Jihoon's calculations allowed the Daehan to fire long-range missiles that disabled key enemy ships, without exposing the humans to direct fire. Hyejin's voice rang out calmly, but with authority. "Focus on coordination. Keep the Varn distracted and confused. We don't need to destroy them all, just enough to reach the station safely." The humans' strategy worked better than anyone had expected. The Varn fighters, trained to fight predictable enemies, could not adjust to the humans' erratic movements. Taesung's squad wove through space like living shadows, striking and retreating before the enemy could respond. At the same time, Jihoon worked on a risky experiment. Using captured Varn technology from the previous battle, he attempted to modify the energy fields of the human ships to temporarily mimic the Varn's speed and agility. It was dangerous, and if it failed, it could destroy their engines. But Hyejin trusted him. Now or never, Ji-hoon whispered, pressing the final sequence. The Dihan shuddered as the new system activated. Its engines roared with renewed power, and the ship moved in ways no human vessel had ever done before. The Varn were stunned, unable to anticipate the sudden speed changes and unexpected maneuvers. Human fighters moved through the chaos with precision, reaching Soryang Station before the enemy could regroup. The station was in ruins. Smoke and fire rose from the docking bays and survivors huddled in the shadows. Hyejin ordered rescue teams to deploy immediately, using smaller shuttles to evacuate civilians while keeping weapons trained on the Varn patrols. One of the survivors, a young engineer named Min Seo, ran toward the shuttle. "Thank you. We thought we were finished," she cried, tears mixing with soot and dust. Hyejin helped her aboard. "You're safe now. Stay calm and follow instructions. We'll get everyone out." As the evacuation continued, a new threat emerged. The Varn warship from the previous battle had arrived, accompanied by more fighters. It seemed almost alive, its massive hull moving with deliberate purpose. The humans were outnumbered but not outsmarted. Hyejin issued orders quickly. "Ji-hoon, keep our systems running at maximum efficiency. Taesung, lead the fighters in a diversion. Draw them into the asteroid field on my mark. We will hit the warship where it is weakest." Taesung grinned. Finally, some real fun. The smaller fighters darted forward, baiting the Varn ships into the asteroid clusters. Explosions lit the darkness as missiles and debris shredded enemy hulls. The warship advanced, focusing on the Daehan. Hyejin waited for the perfect moment. "Now!" she shouted. The Daehan twisted, its engines blazing in directions the Varn could not anticipate. Ji-hoon's modified system allowed the flagship to fire concentrated energy bursts that penetrated the enemy shields. Sparks and fire erupted along the warship's hull, and for the first time it faltered. But the Varn were not easily defeated. They regrouped quickly, adapting their strategy. Hyejin realized that intelligence alone would not win this battle. Humans had to fight in ways the Varn could not predict. She studied the warship's movements and smiled faintly. They expect direct attacks. They do not expect patience, misdirection, and teamwork. Hyejin coordinated the fleet, combining fighters, shuttles, and the Daehan's firepower in unexpected patterns. The humans moved like a single organism, each action supporting the other, each attack covering weaknesses. The Varn struggled to keep up, losing more ships as the humans exploited gaps in their formation. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon discovered something remarkable. The Varn warship emitted a repeating energy pulse almost like a heartbeat. If they could synchronize an attack with its pulse, they might disable it completely. "Hyejin, I have a plan," Ji-hoon said urgently. "We can use the pulse against them, overload their systems. But it will require precise timing and perfect coordination." Hyejin nodded. "We don't have a choice. Prepare the fleet. Taesung, your fighters will create the opening. Everyone else follows my lead." The humans moved into position. Taesung's squad flew daring loops, dodging enemy fire and drawing attention away from the main fleet. Hyejin counted the pulses in her head, timing every movement, every shot. At the critical moment, the Daehan and its allied ships fired in unison, energy beams striking the warship as its pulse reached its peak. Sparks flew, shields collapsed, and the massive ship groaned as systems failed. The Varn were stunned, unable to respond. The humans had turned the tide once again. The survivors on Soryang Station cheered as rescue shuttles took them to safety. Hyejin allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had faced overwhelming odds and survived, but she knew this was not the end. The Varn would return, stronger and more determined. Mira floated beside Hyejin, her voice calm but urgent. "The galaxy will remember this battle. Humans are not like the others. Your courage and strategy have inspired hope, even in the darkest places." Hyejin looked at the stars, feeling the weight of responsibility but also a new sense of purpose. "We will keep fighting," she said. "We will protect the innocent. And the galaxy will learn that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." Taesung joined them, wiping soot from his uniform. "I like the sound of that," he said with a grin. "Maybe now the Varn will think twice before underestimating us." Ji-hoon adjusted the ship's systems, exhausted but satisfied. "We are learning faster than they are. They will not expect what comes next." Hyejin nodded. Humanity had survived its second test in the galaxy. They were still young among the stars, but they were proving that courage, intelligence, and unpredictability could stand against even the most powerful forces. The Daihan moved forward, carrying the survivors, its engines blazing, cutting through the darkness. The galaxy was larger and more dangerous than ever, but humanity had taken its second step. The Varn, and all who watched, were beginning to understand that humans were not just participants in galactic events. They were players who could change the outcome. And Hyejin, Taesung, Jihoon, and Mira knew that the real challenge was still ahead. The war was far from over, and the galaxy had yet to see the full measure of humanity's courage. The battle near Soryang Station had been won, but Hyejin knew that war was not just fought with weapons. Diplomacy and careful planning were just as important. The galaxy was watching humanity now, and they could not afford to make enemies unnecessarily. The Daihan moved through a neutral corridor toward the conclave, a space station where representatives from many species gathered to discuss peace and strategy. Mira floated beside Hyejin in the observation deck, her silver skin reflecting the soft lights. "The Council will be wary of you," she said. "Many species do not trust humans yet. They see only what they expect, a small young race. You must show them wisdom as well as courage." Hyejin nodded, studying the stars as the station came into view. The conclave was enormous, a gleaming city in space where ships of every shape and size docked. Alien delegates of all kinds moved through the corridors, their languages blending into a hum of activity. Hyejin felt the weight of responsibility. This was more than a battle. It was a test of humanity's ability to join a larger community of civilizations. Taesung adjusted his uniform and leaned against the railing. "So we're walking into a room full of aliens and trying not to start another war?" he said with a half-smile. Jihoon shook his head. "It's not that simple. Some of these species already suffered under the Varn. They may resent us for being young and inexperienced. We have to convince them we can be allies, not liabilities." The Daihan docked smoothly and the humans disembarked, escorted by Mira. Delegates from reptilian species, insectoid species, and others with shapes beyond human imagination looked at them with curiosity, suspicion, or outright disdain. Hyejin kept her posture straight, projecting calm authority. The first meeting was tense. Many delegates spoke of past losses, blaming others for mistakes and warning humanity to be careful. Hyejin listened quietly, learning the rules of the council and the hidden rivalries among the species. When it was her turn to speak, she did not raise her voice or use threats. She spoke simply, clearly, and honestly. "We are humans," she said. "We are new to this galaxy, but we are not weak. We fight to protect the innocent, and we learn from every battle. We seek allies, not enemies. We want to help end the suffering caused by the Varn, and we will fight alongside anyone willing to protect their people." There was a silence. Delegates whispered among themselves. Then Mira spoke softly. "Your words are honest. That is something the council rarely hears." The humans were not alone for long. Representatives from smaller species, oppressed by the Varn, began to approach them quietly. They had watched humanity's fights, saw their courage, and wanted to join forces. Hyejin welcomed their presence. "Strength is not only in numbers," she said. "It is in unity, in courage, and in clever thinking. Together we can make a difference." While diplomacy unfolded, Hyejin's attention never wavered from intelligence reports. Spies and saboteurs were a real threat. The Varn could strike at any time, even in this supposedly neutral space. Jihoon worked on analyzing energy signatures, scanning for any unusual activity, while Taesung stayed alert, ready to intercept any attacks in the corridors or docking bays. It did not take long for trouble to arrive. A group of Varn agents disguised as traders attempted to plant explosive devices near the docking area. Taesung noticed a faint energy pulse moving with unnatural speed. He reacted instantly, grabbing one of the agents and subduing them before they could complete their mission. Hyejin addressed the council calmly. "The Varn are watching us. They seek to destabilize alliances and create fear. We must act together, or their plans will succeed." Some delegates were impressed by humanity's vigilance. Others remained skeptical, questioning whether such a young species could manage the politics and strategy needed in this galactic conflict. Hyejin ignored the whispers, focusing instead on building alliances and finding common ground. Mira guided them to a private chamber, where she spoke in a low voice. There is an opportunity here. The Council fears the Varn, and you have shown that humans are brave and clever. If you can offer them proof of your ability to strike decisively against the enemy, they may grant you more support. Hyojin considered the suggestion. We can't just show force, she said. We must show strategy and intelligence. The Varn will not underestimate us again, and neither will the Council if we act carefully. Ji-hoon joined them, holding a holographic projection of the Varn fleet near a nearby system. There is a supply station, he said. It is lightly defended. If we disable it, we can weaken the Varn and gain credibility among the Council. But it is risky, Hyojin nodded. Everything we do is risky. But careful risk is better than waiting for them to strike first. Tae-sung, prepare the fighters. Ji-hoon, ready our modified systems. We move quietly, strike efficiently, and return before they know we were there. The humans and their small allies slipped out of the conclave without attracting attention. Tae-sung led the fighters in tight formations, weaving between asteroid fields to avoid detection. Ji-hoon's systems allowed the Daehan to move faster than expected, its engines almost invisible to conventional sensors. The Varn supply station appeared in the distance, guarded by a few ships that patrolled lazily, confident in their superiority. Hyojin studied the formation carefully. We cannot attack head-on, she said. We will use misdirection and precision. Disrupt their communications first, then disable the station's defenses. Tae-sung's squadron moved forward, drawing the patrolling ships away with daring maneuvers and feints. Ji-hoon activated a modified pulse that temporarily scrambled the Varn sensors, causing confusion among their ranks. Hyojin timed the attack perfectly. Energy beams from the Daehan struck the station's shield generators, causing sparks and explosions that disabled their defenses. Within minutes, the humans and their allies had achieved their goal. The Varn supply station was crippled, its ships scattered, and the humans disappeared into the darkness before reinforcements could arrive. Back at the conclave, the Council delegates received news of the operation. Hyojin's name spread quickly. Humans had shown not only courage and skill, but also intelligence and strategic thinking. Many species were impressed, some even inspired. Alliances began to form, with smaller races offering support for future operations. Mira smiled at Hyojin. You have done more than fight, she said. You have earned respect. The Council will now listen to humans. You are no longer unknown. You are a force in this galaxy. Hyojin allowed herself a moment of satisfaction but did not celebrate. She knew the Varn would respond, and they would respond with force. The galaxy was changing, and humans were now fully part of its story. Tae-sung clapped Ji-hoon on the back. Looks like we are getting famous, he said. But I don't think the Varn are going to send us a thank you card. Ji-hoon laughed softly. They won't, and that is why we must be ready for anything. But for the first time, I believe we can fight on equal footing, not just survive. Hyojin gazed out at the stars from the conclave's observation deck. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and wonders, but humanity had proven itself. They had faced impossible odds, shown intelligence and courage, and begun to earn the trust of other species. The next steps would be harder. The Varn would not forget this strike, and new threats were already forming in the shadows. But Hyojin knew that humanity had the advantage of something no alien fleet could predict: ingenuity, courage, and the will to fight not just for survival, but for hope and justice. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Hyojin, Tae-sung, Ji-hoon, and Mira prepared for the next chapter of the conflict. Humanity had proven it could strike decisively, but the galaxy still had many trials ahead. The humans were no longer observers, they were leaders, fighters, and symbols of hope in a galaxy that had underestimated them for far too long. The journey was only beginning, and the universe was about to learn that humans were not to be ignored. The Daehan returned from its successful strike on the Varn supply station, but Hyojin knew there was no time to rest. The galaxy was watching, and the Varn were furious. Intelligence reports indicated that the enemy was regrouping, preparing a counterattack, and reinforcing systems across nearby sectors. Humanity had made its mark, and now they would see the full force of a civilization that had underestimated them. Hyojin studied the maps on the bridge. We cannot fight them all at once, she said. We need to strike carefully, use strategy and surprise. Direct confrontation would be suicide. Tae-sung leaned over the console, checking the fighter squad positions. Then we hit them where they least expect it. Use speed, misdirection, and teamwork. That's how we've survived so far. Ji-hoon nodded, his fingers moving over the holographic display. I've analyzed their fleet patterns. They rely on central coordination from the warship command. If we can disrupt their command systems, we can create chaos. Their ships will fight among themselves. Mira floated quietly, her large eyes scanning the map. It is risky, but if successful, it could turn the tide. The Varn are proud and aggressive. They will not forgive failure. You must be precise. Heejin's mind raced. She weighed the options, considering every possible move and counter-move. We strike at the command ship, she decided. Tae-sung will lead the fighter squad to draw their attention. Ji-hoon and I will work on disabling their command systems from a distance. Timing must be perfect. The human fleet moved quietly toward the Varn system. The enemy ships patrolled as usual, confident in their strength. Hyojin observed from the bridge, her hands steady despite the tension. The Daehan glided through space like a predator, waiting for the exact moment to strike. Tae-sung led his squadron into view first. The smaller fighters darted between asteroids and debris, their movements unpredictable. Varn ships immediately focused on them, eager to destroy what they still considered a minor threat. Tae-sung's fighters hit and withdrew, luring the Varn fleet away from the command ship. Keep their attention, Hyojin said. Do not let them realize the real target yet. Ji-hoon activated the modified systems on the Daehan, sending a pulse that temporarily scrambled Varn communications. Orders from the command ship were delayed, causing confusion. The larger vessels moved without coordination, firing at empty space or each other by mistake. Hyojin smiled faintly. Now. The Daehan fired precise energy beams at the command ship's control nodes, bypassing shields with technology Ji-hoon had adapted from previous encounters. Sparks and fire ran across the Varn warship's surface. The enemy faltered, their fleet unsure how to respond. Tae-sung's squadron continued the distraction, weaving in and out of enemy fire with daring skill. Each maneuver drew more Varn ships into the trap. Hyojin coordinated every attack, calculating angles, timing pulses, and predicting enemy reactions faster than any human had ever done. But the Varn were not easy to defeat. The command ship activated an emergency shield, and reinforcements began to arrive from nearby systems. Hyojin realized that humans could not simply overpower them. They had to outthink them at every step. Prepare for the final phase, she ordered. We will hit their engines and command simultaneously. Strike decisively, then retreat before they recover. Ji-hoon worked quickly, calibrating the energy pulse to target both the engines and command nodes. It's ready, he said. But if we mistime it, the warship could destroy us. Hyojin took a deep breath. We will not fail. Launch the sequence on my mark. Tae-sung's squadron began their final loop, drawing the attention of the remaining Varn ships. Explosions lit the darkness of space, reflecting off the hulls of human and alien vessels alike. The Daehan moved with precision, firing its pulse at the perfect moment. The command ship shuddered. Its systems failed in waves, engines sputtering, shields collapsing. Varn ships panicked, unsure of orders. The humans seized the moment, striking with calculated energy bursts that disabled key systems. One by one, the enemy vessels fell into chaos. Hyojin watched the screens as the warship's hull cracked under concentrated attacks. The Varn commander attempted to regain control, but Ji-hoon's system pulse disrupted every effort. Humanity's ingenuity had turned the tide. The warship began a slow, uncontrolled drift, its power fading. Even the smaller Varn ships hesitated, unsure of how to act. Hyojin knew they had won this encounter, but she did not allow herself to relax. The Varn would retaliate. Humanity had only survived through precision, teamwork, and unpredictability. Tae-sung's voice came over the comms, excitement clear. They're confused, we did it. Look at them scramble. Hyojin allowed a faint smile. Good work. Begin withdrawal. Take the survivors and the Daehan out before they regroup. Ji-hoon began recalibrating the Daehan systems for maximum speed. We need to leave quickly. Reinforcements could arrive any moment. As the fleet retreated, they received signals from allied species recruited during their time at the Conclave. These smaller factions had joined humanity's cause, inspired by courage and ingenuity displayed in recent battles. Their ships added strength, helping cover the Daehan and the fighters during withdrawal. Mira floated beside Hyojin, her expression serious but proud. You have changed the course of this conflict. The Varn will fear humans now. Your reputation will spread across the galaxy. Hyejin nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility once more. This is only one battle. The Varn will return stronger and more prepared. We must learn from every encounter and grow faster than they do. Taesung leaned against the console, smiling broadly. I like this part. Humans winning, chaos everywhere, and the enemy has no clue what's coming next. Jihoon laughed softly. It is only the beginning. But for the first time, I believe we can fight on equal terms, and maybe even win. The Dihan moved forward, engines blazing, carrying humanity's allies and hope through the darkness. Hyejin stared at the stars, thinking about the battles ahead. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers they could not yet see, but humanity had proven that courage, creativity, and teamwork could overcome even the most powerful enemies. She knew the Varn would regroup, and the next encounter would be harder. But the humans had something no alien fleet could predict: adaptability, unpredictability, and the will to fight for life, justice, and hope. As the fleet moved into safer territory, Hyejin allowed herself one small thought of pride. Humanity had faced one of the galaxy's strongest enemies and emerged victorious, not through raw strength, but through intelligence and unity. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not to be underestimated. Mira's voice interrupted her thoughts. The Council will hear of this battle. You have secured allies and shown that humans can act decisively, even against overwhelming odds. Remember, the galaxy will be watching your next moves carefully. Hyejin nodded. We will be ready. The Varn, and anyone who threatens peace, will learn what humans can do. Jihoon adjusted the systems one last time before allowing the engines to accelerate. We have made a mark today, but tomorrow we prepare for what comes next. The galaxy will not rest, and neither will we. Taesung grinned. Good. I was starting to get bored waiting for the next fight. Hyejin looked out at the stars, the endless expanse of space stretching before them. Humanity had survived impossible odds, gained allies, and shown the galaxy that courage and intelligence could prevail. The path ahead was dangerous, filled with enemies, challenges, and uncertainty. But the humans had proven themselves capable. The Dahan moved onward, carrying the promise of humanity, ready for the battles to come. The galaxy had begun to shudder at the rise of humans, and there was no turning back. The galaxy had taken notice of humanity. The Varn, once dismissive, now regarded humans with caution. The smaller alien races, inspired by courage and ingenuity, began to rally around Earth's fleet. Hyejin stood on the bridge of the Dahan, watching the stars streak by, knowing that the battles ahead would test humanity like never before. Taesung paced nervously near the fighter consoles. Do you think they'll ever leave us alone? He asked. His usual grin was tempered by concern. Hyejin shook her head. The Varn never leave anyone alone. But we've shown them that humans are different. They think with strength, courage, and creativity. They cannot predict us. That is our advantage. Jihoon leaned over his datapad, studying the latest intelligence. Reports indicate that remnants of the Varn fleet are retreating. Their command structure is broken and their morale is low. If we strike carefully, we could prevent them from rebuilding. Mira floated silently beside Hyejin, her silver skin glinting under the lights. They will not give up entirely, she said. But humanity has earned respect and allies. This is the time to solidify that position. The humans did not waste time. Hyejin convened a strategy session with their allied fleets. Ships from small species, previously oppressed by the Varn, joined the humans. Together they formed a network of fast-moving squadrons, intelligence teams, and defensive formations. Every detail mattered. The galaxy had become a chessboard, and humanity was now a key player. The first target was a Varn staging base located in a nearby nebula. Its position had been carefully chosen to avoid detection. Hyejin ordered a stealth approach, using the Dihan and its escorts to mask the larger fleet's movements. Taesung's fighters led the way, weaving through asteroid fields and nebula clouds, drawing attention and probing for traps. Jihoon's systems tracked every Varn movement, calculating trajectories, speeds, and energy fields. They have no idea we're coming, he whispered, a hint of excitement in his voice. Everything is in place. The humans struck quickly and decisively. The Dahan fired a series of precise energy beams that disabled the base's shields, while allied ships targeted key weapon and energy installations. Explosions lit the nebula as the Varn forces scrambled, unsure how to respond. Hyjin coordinated the attack like a conductor leading an orchestra. Every move, every shot, every maneuver was timed perfectly. The Varn were overwhelmed by the humans' unpredictability, the coordination of their allies, and the precision of their strikes. In the midst of battle, Tae-sung's squadron faced heavy resistance. "We're outnumbered," one pilot shouted over comms. Hyjin remained calm. "Use misdirection. Draw them into the asteroid field. We will support you. Trust your instincts." The pilots executed daring loops, dodging fire and luring Varn ships into traps. The asteroid field became a deadly maze where the slower, less agile Varn fighters could not follow. Human ingenuity turned the environment into a weapon, as rocks and debris crashed into enemy vessels, taking them out of the fight. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon activated a system that mimicked the Varn's communication signals, sending false orders to their fleet. Ships turned on each other, confused and disorganized. The command chain broke completely, and the base's defenders were isolated. Hyejin's voice rang over the comms. "Focus fire on their engines and energy core. Precision, efficiency, strike now." Energy beams from the Daehan and allied ships hit their targets. The Varn base erupted in fire and sparks, losing power and functionality. The remaining ships attempted to retreat, but the humans and their allies were already in pursuit, cutting off escape routes with calculated precision. As the battle ended, Hyejin allowed herself a moment to breathe. The base was destroyed, the fleet scattered, and humanity's allies cheered. The tide of the conflict had shifted. For the first time, the Varn were on the defensive, and the humans had proven they were more than just another species in the galaxy. Mira approached Hyejin. "The Council will hear of this. Humans have shown courage, intelligence, and leadership. Many species will now consider you a force for stability rather than chaos." Hyejin looked at the stars. "This is only one victory. The Varn will regroup. The galaxy is far from safe, but humanity has a place now. We are no longer outsiders. We are participants, and we will continue to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." Tae-sung slapped Ji-hoon on the shoulder. "Not bad for a bunch of humans, huh?" he said with a grin. Ji-hoon laughed. "We have proven ourselves, yes. But we must stay vigilant. This victory will make the Varn even more dangerous if we grow complacent." The fleet returned to the conclave, where council delegates welcomed the humans with a mixture of admiration and cautious respect. Hyejin addressed the assembly, her voice calm but firm. "We fight not for conquest, not for glory, but for survival and for justice. Humanity will continue to protect the innocent, to fight when others cannot, and to show that courage and intelligence can overcome fear and oppression. We do not claim to be the strongest, but we will not be ignored." Delegates from smaller races stepped forward, pledging their support. The humans had earned allies who would fight alongside them in future conflicts. Even species previously skeptical of humanity began to see them as a symbol of hope. Mira smiled at Hyejin. "You have changed the galaxy's perception. Humans are no longer a minor species. You are now a force that others respect and fear. This is only the beginning of your story." Hyejin looked out at the stars, feeling a mix of exhaustion and resolve. The battles had been long and difficult, but humanity had survived, adapted, and thrived. Courage, creativity, and teamwork had won the day. The galaxy had begun to understand that humans were not easily defeated, and that their ingenuity could change the course of history. Tae-sung leaned against the railing. "So what now? Do we wait for the Varn to come back?" Hyejin shook her head. "No, we prepare. We strengthen our alliances. We learn everything we can. The Varn will return, but next time we will be ready. Humanity will not be caught off guard again." Ji-hoon added, "We've shown that technology, skill, and strategy can overcome numbers and power. But we must keep improving. The galaxy is vast and threats will not stop. We have to be ready for anything." Hyejin nodded. "And we will. For every life at risk, for every planet threatened, we will fight. We will show the galaxy that humanity is not just capable of surviving, it is capable of leading, protecting, and inspiring." Mira's eyes shone. "The galaxy will remember this. The Varn will think twice before attacking humans again. Other species will follow your example. You have given hope to many." Hyejin turned her gaze toward Earth, imagining the small blue planet spinning in the distance. Humanity had begun its rise in the galaxy, and the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, acknowledging their courage and determination. The Daehan moved forward, carrying humans and allies through the vastness of space. The galaxy had tested them, and they had proven themselves. Humanity was no longer just a small, distant world. They were a force to be reckoned with, a symbol of hope, courage, and ingenuity. And as Hyejin looked out at the endless stars, she knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's story had just begun. The galaxy had shuddered at their arrival. But soon it would learn to respect, to fear, and to rely on the humans who had dared to step into the conflict. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, battles and sacrifices, but humanity was ready. They had shown the galaxy what they were capable of, and the universe would never be the same again. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and humanity moved forward, united, courageous, and unyielding. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a new power, and it had only begun to understand the true strength of the human spirit.